on today is teamwork. What is the word of the day?
Teamwork.
Teamwork. So today, when you are doing any of the challenges, I want you to remember and try to focus on how you can be a helpful part of your team. If everybody on your team is thinking about how they can be a helpful part of your team will be successful. So before you say anything today, I want you to think, is what I'm about to say going to be helpful for my team, or is it going to hurt my team? If it's going to hurt your team, should you say it? No, because then your team's not going to be successful. Successful teams are about a lot of people coming together to help their team. They're cooperating, they're communicating. If you have everybody on your team working together, your team will be very, very successful. Today we're going to be playing a game across the river. There are different levels of the game. If your team can be the first team to finish any of the levels today, you can hit the wow on the way out. That is our bonus challenge of the day. Make sense? All right, friends. First thing we need to do is, let's see, if you are the first person in line, I want you to count how many people are in your team. And then I want you to count your dots. You should have the same number of dots as you have people. You have extra dots. Please come bring them up to me. You should have the same number of dots as you have people. Now, here's the situation, friends. This is what you are going to have to do. Please put your eyes and ears on me. Please do not talk unless you have permission. If you would like to talk, what should you do? You need to raise your hand. Okay, right now you are sitting on the edge of a river bank. Where the black line starts is where the river starts. Right now you're on the ground, but as soon as you cross over that black line, you will be entering the river. This is not a normal river. This is a toxic river because there's a nuclear power plant that is right upstream, and it has been leaking nuclear waste into the river. So this water is radioactive. You do not want to touch it. If you touch this water, you'll get very, very sick, and your team will have to start over. Now, what you are trying to do is you have to get to the other side of the river because there's a forest fire that is spreading in the woods behind you. And if you don't get over there, then the fire is going to catch up with you, and you will all be burned. So you do not want to touch the water. You do not want to touch the fire. And you have only 5 minutes to get across this river. Because if you are exposed to that radiation for more than 5 minutes, then your whole team will get sick. So if nobody completes the challenge in 5 minutes, we will come back and we will talk about what are some things that we can do, some strategies. We'll try to help you figure out what you need to do to complete the challenge. So you have 5 minutes to try to cross. You cannot touch the water. And you must get your whole team across. Do you understand what you're trying to do? Okay, the rules are very simple. In front of you, you have a log, and on that log are some rocks. You're going to use the equipment that you have in front of you to try to get across to the blue island that you see in front of you. Does everybody see the blue island? Yeah. Okay, the level 1 is the easiest level. You're just trying to get your whole team to the blue island. When your whole team is standing on the island, if you are the first ones to complete that, it means you have won level 1. Does everybody understand how to win level 1? Okay, let me tell you some of the rules you need to know. First rule is, these are your rocks. These are very, very heavy. What are these rocks? Very, very heavy. Because they are so heavy, you cannot throw them. And you cannot slide them. You cannot throw the rocks. You cannot slide the rocks. You're going to be placing these rocks in the water, and you're going to be stepping on the rocks to try to get across the river. You cannot slide the rocks. Raise your hand if you know why you can't slide the rocks. Jacob?
Because they're too heavy.
Because they're too heavy. They are very heavy. And you cannot throw the rocks. If you slide the rocks or throw the rocks, then you'll have to start over. If any part of your body, your foot, your hand, or any part of your body falls into the water, your team will all pick up the rocks, go back to the start, and start over. Okay? You cannot throw them, you cannot slide them, and if you touch the water, you have to start over. Try to get your whole team down to the blue island in order to win the game. Now, if somebody does make a mistake, if they fall in, if they slide a rock, if they throw one of the rocks, then your team has to start over. Is it going to be helping your team if you yell at them? Can anybody raise their hand and tell me what could be something that would be helpful for you to say if somebody on your team makes a mistake? Aubrey?
It's okay, just try again.
Yeah, just no big deal. It's just a game. You can try again. We'll get it next time. Okay? So please remember to be helpful to your team, not hurtful. If you have a question about the game, please raise your hand. I'll be happy to answer it. Monica? You can use all the equipment you have in front of you. Any other questions? Okay, you're trying to get to that blue island. I'm going to give you 1 minute to try to get across. I'm going to give you 1 minute to talk to your team. Then you'll have 5 minutes to try to get across. Okay, nice job. Please put the dots on the box. Please don't touch the box and the dots while I'm talking. And let's give it up for the red team. First one to the island. Nice job, red team. Everybody say, nice job, red team.
Nice job.
Everybody say, it's just a game.
Just a game.
Everybody say, no big deal. Can anybody raise their hand and tell me, what are some of the strategies that your team was using? Maybe some of the things you talked about during that 1 minute that I gave you at the beginning. What were some things you were doing to try to be successful? Tell me.
Trying to choose which place is best for you.
Okay, yeah, trying to choose what place is best for you. Should you be in the front? Should you be in the middle? Should you be in the back of the line? So trying to figure out how you can best help your team. Who's the best person on your team to have in those different positions? Jaden? Okay, yeah, you're using that log, and when you put the log down, put it long ways, so you'll have a little bit of extra length. If you put it sideways, then you can still use it, but you will not be using it as well as you could if you used it to its full potential. You want to put it long ways because you're trying to get down to the island. What else? How do you know how far apart to put the rocks? Walker? Okay, yeah, you have to find that right distance. You can't put them too far, but if you put them too close, your team will not be moving very quickly. You have to be thinking about which person in line when you're laying those rocks down. What person is that front, the leader, when they're laying the rocks? What person are they thinking about? Monica?
The back person, because they have to pick it up.
Yes, you got to be thinking about the whole team. The very person in the back has to pick up those rocks. So you might be able to jump to the next rock, but if they can't pick it up, is your team going to be able to keep going? No. So you need to be thinking about that last person in line. All right, friends, now that you know how to move across the river, it's time for level 2. Level 2 is a little bit harder. For level 2, what you're going to be trying to do is go all the way across. So level 1, you made it to the blue island. Level 2, you're going to try to make it all the way across to the other side of the gym. When you get past the black line on the other side of the gym, you have crossed the river. The first team to get their whole group past the black line will be the winner of level 2. Now, just like a video game, when you get halfway done with this level, there's a checkpoint where you can save your game. So when your whole team is standing on a blue island, your game is saved. You have to get your whole team to the blue island just like in level 1, and then you can save your game. That means, for example, yellow team, if you're all on the island and then somebody falls off, do you have to come all the way back to the start? No, you get to start over at the island. Okay, so if you fall off past the island, once you save your game, you don't have to come back all the way to the start. You can start over at the island. Does everybody understand how the checkpoint works? Aubrey?
What if you fall off there?
If you fall off the island after you save your game, once everybody's on the island, you can start over at the island. But if you fall off of the island before you save your game, you got to come back to the start. Does everybody understand how to save your game?
Yes, sir.
Any questions about level 2?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you got 1 minute to talk to your team. Okay, nice job, friends. Please remember that is just a game. Everybody say it's just a game. Everybody say it's just a game. Let's give it up for the green team. First one to cross line job, green team. The green machine. Okay, can anybody tell me what are some things that you might have figured out that time that maybe you did not think about the last round? Jaden? Okay, yeah, when you're at the checkpoint, wait until your whole team is on that island so you can save your game before you continue. Because if you continue and then you fall into the water before your team saves the game, you're going to have to go back to the start. So make sure you wait for your team so you can save that game before you continue. What else? 2, or some teams are able to get 3 people. So when you put an extra person on that box, that is going to be a little bit more difficult. But if you have an extra person on there, then that means your team has an extra what? They have an extra rock, so they're going to be able to move quickly. So if your team has an extra rock, they will move a little bit faster. So if you can get more people on the box, then that can save you a rock, and you can move your team faster across the river. Make sense?
Yes, sir.
All right, friends, time for level 3. For level 3, got some bad news. The water has picked up and washed away one of your rocks. If you are the first person, please bring me 1 rock. Okay, so now you have 1 less rock. You're going to be trying to do the same thing you did in level 1. You're just going to try to get to that blue island. Level 3, the first team that gets to the blue island will be the winner of level 3. Just trying to make it across the blue. You have to do a little problem solving and use some teamwork with your team. Try to figure out how to get across with 1 less rock. Any questions? All right, you got 1 minute to talk to your team. Let's give it up for the red team. Nice job, red team. First one to talk. Yeah, so let's talk about that last level. When you lost the rock, you had to figure out a way to make up for that rock. So there are a few different ways you can do it. Raise your hand if you can tell me one way that you can make up for losing the rock. Jackson?
Carry your teammate.
You carry your teammate. Okay, so you can have somebody that is carried by another teammate, and that way you will have 2 people on 1 dot, and that gives you an extra dot. So you make up for it that way. What is another way that you can do it? Jaden? Okay, yeah, you can put more people on the log. When you have people on the log, you don't need the extra dot, right? The only time you need the extra dot is when you are moving what? When you have to move the log, because then you can't put those 2 extra people on there. So when you are moving the log, that's when you need to have somebody that is either sharing a dot or getting carried by someone else. And that way you'll have that extra dot and you can pass that log up to the front. Did you figure out any other interesting strategies? What?
Very interesting.
We put the people that had the smallest feet in the back because when the in the front because when the log was being carried, then the 2 people could share the dot because they had the smallest feet.
Okay, yeah. So picking people that have are a little bit smaller, might have good balance, or have the smallest feet, and getting those people to share a spot might be a good idea for you to try. Make sense? All right, friends, time for level 4. For level 4, you're going to be doing the same thing you did in level 2. You're going to try to get all the way across, Chris. You're going to try to get all the way across. Same thing as level 2. When you get to that island, you get to save your game. So if you can get your whole team to the island and then you fall into the water, after that, then you don't have to go back to the start. You get to start over at the island. Any questions about level 4?
No.
All right, you got 1 minute to talk to your team. Very close round on that level, and we're going to go with a tie between red and yellow. Nice job, red and yellow. Right down to the wire. Okay, please listen. Y'all did a great job today using that teamwork. Teamwork is very, very important. That's why I wanted you to play that game, to get you back into thinking about how important it is to learn to communicate, cooperate, and work together as a team. You need to be able to do that for all the things that we do in PE class. You need to be able to do that, all the things that you do as a class, as a homeroom, and it can help you in anything that you do with your family, with sports that you play, with group projects that you have in class, and even out at recess every day. So I hope you'll take away some of those skills today if your team was able to complete any of the levels, and you may make sure you hit that wow on the way out. If you didn't, everybody say no big deal.
No big deal.
You still need to hit that good job if you were following directions and doing your best. If you did not follow directions or did not do your best, you need to make sure you hit that keep on trying Make sure you work on that before you come back next week. Hope you guys have an awesome day. When I say go, please line up on that middle black line. Go.